Production-wise, CEO of Wycom. He's the biggest supporter.
Sir, can you tell me? Sir, look here please, sir. Sir, look here please.
Most legendary actors and filmmakers of Indian cinema, with many of whom I've had the honor and the privilege to work with and be close to. It is important. We were able to get it from the US, and you will see some of your favorite stars when they've just begun.
Sir, straight, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Give me.
Words up, we've grown being admiring your work, and those words coming from someone like you is very touching. But now my hero, someone whom I admired, what can I say? Shri Kamal ji, I'd like to request you, sir, to say a few words.
Good day to you. Good day to films. And thanks, Viacom, for stepping in at, though late, but at the right moment, I think. One might wonder that as a champion of bringing in digital cinema, one of the champions, people mistook that my fight is against films. It's not. My battle was to take technology forward. But that doesn't mean we lose everything that we have. I'm glad that when I proclaimed that within 5 years we'll be making films only digitally, it was not a war cry to destroy films. It was to usher in a technology which was long overdue. And we were then debating and fighting as to what was good and what is bad. I think we wasted time there. I think that's the time this should have come. And that would have made even people like me understand that I have a duty towards where I come from. Preservation is not just saving something for historic references. It's something more than that. And that's why government spend a lot of money on archaeology and various other things. And we, as one of the largest filmmaking nations in the world perhaps, and we've done very little to that, and you have a great hero who's taken up a battle like Shivendraji. It does really come from passion. He was very right when he said that resources can be found, but passion is very rare. Because we are all talking about it, but you acted on it, and that is why the applause should go to you. And my request is, as I requested you last time in Pune, and you lived up to your promise and you've been here, I think a workshop a year won't be sufficient for the number of films we have. So I'm sure you have already thought of it, is that the best of this 150 will have to continuously train people in other workshops, which should happen all around. Probably revisiting Pune with this team and stuff like that, so that every filmmaking city gets its chance every year. So I'm looking at this number growing exponentially if we do that, and from the government and from people, individuals like me, you can always look up. Make a call, and we'll be there for your help, because we know the seriousness of the situation, and we will try and add our little strength to it. Thank you, sir. Thank you again. Thank you, AVM. Thank you, Prasad, for allowing this to happen here. And I'm proud that the last bastions are working for film. Thank you.
How the application is going to happen, and what was the experience, what kind of people came last workshop.
Right. So the applications are available on our website, Film Heritage Foundation website, and you can apply. It's a very simple application. You need to fill up a few questionnaires, and it's also moderated by the International Federation of Film Archives. The kind of people we were getting over the last 2 years, the very first workshop, I think there were a lot of people who really didn't know whether is it too much of technical course, or is it also a very artistic. And our answer is that you don't have to be a technically sound person to do this film, because film is, of course, it's an art form. So we got a lot of people from art restoration or art who wanted to migrate into film. We also had people from different studios. Where we lacked was a work on celluloid, because there are not enough film handling people. Normally, film handling is handled mostly by locals or peons who've been turned into film handling. There's never been a craft. But we got a few editors, and in fact, there was a girl called Shiba Sehgal who joined it, and she has taken up film handling. So we had and we also had a few journalists who were writing on cinema. They wanted to understand how to write about restoration, because that's one of the key things which we noticed when we did Kalpana with Scorsese. We realized how restoration is supposed to be. You don't remove all the elements of the past, as opposed to Pyasa, which has happened now, which in the international fraternity, if you see a restoration like Pyasa, even though it's in India, we think it's a great restoration. But what they did was, all the elements of that film, what Murthy Saab, V.K. Murthy, who was the cinematographer, would have kept, or Gurudat would have kept, you cannot remove those elements. You cannot make it a new brand film. You have to look at it from the time when the film was released. And I keep giving this, Mr. Scorsese is wonderful in that. There's a lovely film called Il Gattopardo, The Leopard, by Visconti. And there was Visconti had shot the film, and Scorsese says he remembers seeing it as a child. The roses were a particular red. And when the film was shown to him, the colorist had obviously done his version of the red. But he insisted on that research that you have to get it back as the way people had conceived that red. So in restoration, very key that you have to keep the artist's interpretation in mind. So that's one of the big things of our training, that film needs to be restored the way it was shown in that period of time. Obviously, some of the elements become better, like when you do the Appu trilogy. Those 3 negatives were burned, but the way the Criterion and the Bologna people have restored that film, I had the fortune to meet Subrata Mitra in his last years when he was teaching in Calcutta, and he would say that, I don't think people think I'm a good cameraman, because you were used to watching those films on YouTube, the terrible Pathir Panchali and thing, and even Murthy Saab had the same thing. But when you restore them back to that glory, people will be able to see their work. So I think we've had a range of people coming from different, but having said that, sir, whether it's become a career option, it is going to take time. We did the first one, we did the second one. Second one, our main mission was to train people at the NFAI. The people who are there, who are looking after our heritage, they need to be trained. They need to understand what elements they're dealing with. We also had, projection facilities. I must tell you, we think of projection as something which is not that important. We don't even care that much about it. A projectionist can break or make your film. Every filmmaker, he wants to see his film projected the way he's conceived. And we had this wonderful guy, Spencer Cristiano from George Eastman, who came, and for the first time you felt that a projection is as important as a cameraman of a film. The passion he projected the film, the passion he showed the film. So I think all these departments are getting known. We will move into that direction. I think it's a question of time. We are bringing in the best expertise to train people in this. But the avenue is open. We are going to get people who have never stepped into this direction, because this is the beginning. But this is going to be a career option. We are offering job facilities. Film Heritage Foundation, in association with Tata Trust, Tata Trust has come as a supporter, is offering a job at Film Heritage Foundation. I'm sure Prasad and many Prime Focus and many of the studios will be wanting the best expertise which come out of these workshops. Yes, thank you.
What is the prerequisite? You need some kind of
yes,
qualification.
So a lot of prerequisite could be that either you've had some kind of a training in film, or you worked in a studio, or you've had a recommendation, or there is a certain knowledge about at least the art, or you've had an art background, because art is a very, very important factor to understand what restoration is about. So we need a little, we normally prefer people who have had a little experience.
I think that is very important, because
Yeah.
not anybody could just
walk in, yeah.
take this, not to crowd the application.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
So hello. Over the last few years, in Tamil, we've seen a few old movies that have been digitally restored and re-released in the theatres, and they've got actually a good response from the audience. So Mani sir and Kamal sir, do you see this as giving a boost in the future to film restoration?
You'll answer it, but that's a different situation. This is different. This is more service to the industry itself. That is using another commercial opportunity.
I think she's happy with the answer.
The thing is, please do not mistake that and this together. This is nobler, if you ask me.
Sir, so till now, how many films have you been successfully able to restore with respect to the Tamil or South India or Bengali?
No, I think, like I said in the beginning, first we need to find those films. We need to start preservation policies, and then we can look at massive restorations. We've been involved in very few restorations, and we are battling with a few things. One of the main problems in restorations is the copyright issues. Is to make producers understand that restoration doesn't mean making money. No film which you restore is going to get back you the money. It has to be looked upon as a piece of art. And that's why I think one of the reasons why we haven't moved into massive restorations, and we would like to do that, not only us, but we encourage people to restore films, is first we need to find, and like I said in South, in Chennai, you said we have lost so much of films. So we need to look at preserving first. Once we have all the elements, then we can look at restoration.
Follow-up question to that, sir. So right now it is at a stage where you are it's at an archival stage where you are getting to know what are the first films and the eras in which you are supposed to, make sure that these are got in first. Is that the first procedure that is right now being involved in?
No, I think your history, you already know that these are the films. It's just that you've lost so many of those films. Is to first find all the elements of those films and then make a list of which films needs priority basis. And priority basis is not just about the box office hit. Priority basis is about the how old the value is, what are the elements available. So you get the experts to evaluate that and then you restore.
So with respect to the process of restoration of films, you are referring to Guru Dutt as well as Mr. Murthy sir. And you were telling that to look at that cult classic old product from their perspective, from the present process of restoration, how do you match between them? Because it tantamounts to looking at the film from their point of view, from their eyes.
Yeah, but they are the creators, no? They are the ones who made the film.
But the process of restoration is being done presently in the contemporary.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I'll give you an example. You go to see a painting at a museum. Van Gogh has painted a sunflower which is yellow. You're preserving it like that only. You know how Van Gogh painted. You don't want to paint it blue now because you want to see it blue. Do you? You don't want to. You want to keep the painting the way Van Gogh had painted it.
As it was.
As it was. So same way, because restoration means another version by itself. When you restore, sir, it becomes another version. That version ceases to be because you have worked on that element and you made another version of it. So as it is another version, but you've got to preserve it to keep mind in. People are coloring, which I am very anti that, because you just, somebody made a 3D of Sholay. Was the filmmaker? It was not intended. So people do many things, So there are different versions. You won't call it the same film then,
Yeah, and just to quickly add, that's where the training comes in.
Okay.
So if you are trained, you would be in a better position to be able to see it from the eyes of the creator.
In fact,
Otherwise, if you are not very well trained, then you may either, and sometimes there's a commercial lens as well, as Shri Kamal Haasan was saying, but alternately, otherwise as well, you're not trained enough to be able to, so you do it don't do it as well as you should have done. And that's what is the purpose of these things
Okay.
as well.
Thank you.
Is there any target for this year? Because there are a lot of films are there, and as Kamalji have told that there is no time. I mean, we just need to increase for this workshop thing. Do you have any idea of to increase this workshop, please?
Frequency.
Increasing the number of workshops.
Yeah, we would like to do it. Workshops, you would be surprised that these workshops cost a lot of money. It costs a lot of money. People don't know how much it costs us. And we make it accessible. That's been my, I want to say that we want to make it as much as we can do it. We will do it. Because we are running the foundation, we need funding, we need support. We have support thanks to Sudhanshu from Vicom, thanks to Prasad who gave us this facility, and thanks to Kamalji and Mani who's come here to support us. But every workshop is so expensive because you have to fly all the best trainers down. You have to provide the equipment, you have to provide training, you have to provide, it's like doing a whole school, it's an academy which you're doing. So while we would like to do it as often as we can, we'd like to do 2 workshops in a year, and you can believe it now, we are still 2 months away and the preparation has begun. You can ask Mohan and Jayavasan, both are from Prasad, how much I've been hounding them on the classes, on the events. So it takes at least 6 to 7 months to prepare for this workshop. It's that much, So we would like, of course, to do, and our aim is to do one in Trivandrum in Kerala because they're building their archive. We've also want to do in Calcutta because Calcutta has also got a state archive and we want to do and help there. So we are progressing towards that. We would like to do as many as we can and we will do it. We'll keep to the promise, Kamalji. Yeah, thank you.
It also will build as the number goes up. And as Shri Kamal Haasan was also saying, I think over a period of time, the initial ones may also turn into trainers. So therefore what happens is, as you build a bit of a momentum as we go forward, you might be able to dial this up further. So it starts slowly, but it will start gaining momentum as we go forward. Both directly being able to do it and maybe almost train the trainer and try to drive it from there.
As a follow-up to that, sir, you were talking about so you were talking about how it takes a lot of money to make this workshop possible. So this question is directed to Mr. Sudhanshu. So do you think this is why Viacom has since stepped in, because you were talking earlier about we are already in this cinema business. So what is your philosophy in entering into this space, and how is it that you are looking at yourself in this space for the next few years?
So I think the starting point is the cause, because I think this is what we should do and it is our belief in it, that. That's why we are the cause partners and we will continue to give resources to somebody as passionate as Shivi. So that's our commitment. I think how I see it moving forward is that as there is more awareness, hopefully from now onwards there will be more preservation automatically. So there will be greater preservation. But that's a starting point. And then we'll need to see some of the old pieces and their restoration as we go forward. And finally, on this point, I also wanted to touch upon that in India as well, my vision is about 10 years out or 15 years out, all our big cities could also have, that was a question asked to Shri Kamal Haasan some time back, could have one theatre dedicated to things running which are really old. So, and you know, some of the western cities, big cities have this. So there are these dedicated places where you have some of your old classics running again. And I think, you know, and there is an audience for it. There is a limited audience, but there is an audience for it. And I think that is something which India could also aspire towards, because there is a lot of heritage in every form, whether it's old cinema halls, whether it is old films, whether it's old art form. There is a lot of heritage in India, and I think, you know, there is need to preserve it in all forms.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I come from this end of the line. I'm the user, and we were floundering in the dark. Our films were just disappearing. Films made in 2000, we could not get a correct copy of it, and we just didn't know what to do about it. Even now, we still don't know what to do about it. Almost all of somebody like Balu Mahendra's films have gone. Most of my films have gone, and you know, we're not able to just get it back. And then we met Shivi, and you know, a new hope, a new light came, and it is, I mean, for a country which is making so many films, you know, we're just starting to think about preserving it and restoring it. And it's an art, it's it's something which has been produced with passion from very early 20th century, and it is only right that we should see the essence of it retained for years to come. I think a written word gets preserved in so many forms, but this, being in both audio and visual, has to be done with care, has to be done with a lot more details, and therefore we badly needed somebody who was very passionate about it. And thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for coming and leading us from this darkness. Thank you.
I think we have a cause partner, WICOM18, to thank for this excellent PRT. We are very honored to have with us today Shri Kamal Haasan, who's been a wonderful and a great support to our foundation, and more importantly to this great cause. And I think, sir, it's because of you who inspired us when you came to the NFI in Pune that we are here in Chennai. Thank you, sir, once again for taking out time for us to support this cause. We are also very fortunate that a director whom I have admired deeply, Shri Mani Ratnamji, is present today. It really means a lot to the cause of film preservation to have a director of his stature to endorse the cause of film heritage. I'd like to thank Sai and Kavita Prasad, Jayavasan, Mohan Krishnan, and the entire team of Prasad who allowed us to and given us this wonderful facility to be able to do this workshop in October 7th to the 14th. I'll also like to thank Karthik Mayappan from the AVM lab. Most of you who do not know that the students will be doing a small exercise with black and white film, and that it's a historic place because that's the only black and white lab which is still functioning. So thank you, Karthik, and thank you for the wonderful team. And of course, how can I not forget Mr. Sudhanshu Vats, Group CEO of WICOM18, who's been our support right from the beginning. Film Heritage Foundation would not have been had it not been for you. Sudhanshu, thank you very much for all the support. You know, I can tell you, he's one, if you have a supporter like him, he really doesn't ask me even to put his logo. I have to put the logo for his. He never asked me for anything. Yeah. You know, when I started Film Heritage Foundation, most people didn't believe we had a cause. They couldn't understand that the films could be lost or destroyed. But we have lost so much. 1,700 silent films made, and only 15 films in fragments, and only probably about 2 or 3 complete films we have in the silent era. The Madras film industry, which produced 124 silent films and 38 documentaries, not even one survives in Madras. But the one which survives is Martand Varma, which is a Malayalam film in 1931. You've also lost the first Tamil silent film, Kichakavadam. You've also lost Kalidasa. By 1950, you had lost 70 to 80% of your heritage. We have Shri Mani Ratnamji here, who can tell you that he's lost all his negatives. And this is a common story for many of our recent films all over. I was just telling Sudhanshu about Magadira. I had called Mr. Allu Arvind because they wanted to make a Telugu archive at the George Eastman in Rochester. And I had called Allu Arvind and I said, they want your Magadira, and he couldn't find a print of Magadira in Telugu. He finally found a print in Tamil. So if we don't take urgent steps to preserve our films, there will be no memory of cinema left for future generations. And I have this wonderful quote from my mentor Martin Scorsese, who says, film is history. With every foot of film lost, we lose a bit of culture to the world around us, to each other and to ourselves. Films as we see them today are no longer just a cultural legacy, but a language that needs to be preserved for generations to come. And when we are talking about losing films, we can talk about that the early films, there were extractions of silver from the black and white film, there were extraction of dyes from color films, nitrate fryers, there were wrong climatic condition, but the main problem is the industry's neglectful attitude, which was a major cause to the root of losing your cinematic heritage. Cinema here has been looked upon as a merry means of entertainment and never as an art form that constitutes an integral part of our social and cultural fabric. And I'm going to just, through my presentation, show you how we saved a 1950 first Konkani film, which is called Mogachu Ando. It's the first Konkani film, 1950. A filmmaker friend of mine brought it to me, and if you go to the second slide, and you see the condition of this print. It was in such terrible nitrate condition, and it's a remarkable thing which I must tell you, that a film is exactly a thing which you can survive, like a human being. I always treat it like a human being. The next slide, yeah. And look at this image we were able to get out of this. And this wonderful actress, so I must tell you, when I went up to her, she showed it to her grandchildren and said, now you believe I acted in a film. Because till then, it was lying in that. So this is how we were able to save Mogacho Ando, which is maybe just a one reel. But even though the conditions were so bad, we were able to do it. I want to quickly take you through our foundation because many of you do not know what our foundation is about. Our foundation is set up, it's a non-for-profit organization which is set up to preserve our cinematic heritage and also look at education in a major way. Our board of directors, of course, included late P.K. Nair, Shyam Benegal, Gulzar Saab, Jay Bachchan, Kumar Shani, Girish. These are our board of advisors, Gianluca Farnelli, Christoph Zanussi and Mark Cousins. And our key challenges was to create awareness about urgent need to preserve both filmic and non-filmic material, to restore films keeping in mind the original creator's vision, to train indigenous resources of film archivists and restorers, and to develop educational programs for children and sensitize them to the unique language of cinema, and to build a world-class film archive. In 2015, we conducted our first workshop, and it was a 7-day workshop which was highly successful. We trained 50 people. The next workshop in 2016, we did it in Pune at the NFAI, and now we are here in Chennai to conduct our third major film preservation workshops. The impact of these workshops, we have introduced over 100 individuals to the best practices of film preservation. We have witnessed a change in the attitude of the film industry as they become more conscious of preserving their film legacies. There's been a change in the government policy with the start of the National Film Heritage Mission. Now, if you look at our archive, our non-filmic archive, you can see our vaults. We have a growing collection of non-filmic archive, which includes scripts, posters, lobby cards, song booklets, photographs. We have an expert conservator who trains, oversees our staff. We have developed our own cataloging system. We collect every newspaper which comes from around the world, every article on cinema. We have custodians of several important archives, which includes P.K. Nair. FHF has a growing collection of 35 and 16 and 8mm formats that include films of personalities of, we have the entire, Mr. Bachchan used to be an avid collector of films We used to collect all his films. We have his films. We have the films of Shyam Benegal, Govindarani, Kumar Shani, Vishal Bhardwaj, Sumitra Bhave, many such filmmakers. Why did we decide to conduct these workshops? Film preservation and restoration is a specialized field that requires trained personnel, and this is one of the biggest challenges we face in India, as there's no formal training course for film archivists, and India will require an army to take them to this mission to save our film heritage. Given the urgency of the situation, we decided to start with the workshops, and we are proud to say that in just 2 years, we have introduced 100 individuals. A little bit about our workshop. The workshop is from 7th to the 14th at the Prasad Film Lab where you're here. The workshop has been designed by the International Federation of Film Archives, which is based in Brussels. I'm very happy that Martin Scorsese, for the very third year, the great Martin Scorsese, for which the video talking about the workshop, you'll be seeing it later, but for the very third year is partnering with us. We also have, for the very first time, the Academy of Motion Picture Sciences, the one which gives Oscars, to collaborate with us on this workshop. We have the La Imagen of Retrovata, the Cinémathèque France, the Imperial War Museum, the Cineteca di Bologna, the Criterion Collection, and of course Prasad Corporation. We have put together an outstanding line of faculty, each of them a specialist and best in the field. We are fortunate that they were very kind enough to take out the time on their busy schedule and come all the way to India to train 50 students. The highlights will be the training on film handling and repair by Mariana De Santis, Mick Newman, a specialized in disaster recovery, Tina Kelly from the Imperial War Museum, and Don Jarvis, Chief Conservator from the Academy, will conduct practical classes in paper and photographic conservation. You will have the opportunity to work at the AVM lab to see processing, practical classes in digital restoration, sound restoration, color correction. Also, you will have, thanks to Prasad, the Scanity, where students can go through Samuel Kyoto from the Finnish Film Archive to look at various ways of scanning. Emile Cacouet from La Cinémathèque France will speak about archive access, and every day you will see the best restored film, which includes Coen Brothers are sending their wonderful restoration called Blood Simple, plus Buster Keaton films. Every evening there will be a screening of a restored film, and scholarships will be available. There are lots of scholarships. We always want people to do it free. We always want people to come here and do this course free and pick up 50 people who can go and look after the thing. Applications are open and available online till August 31st. We would request you to help our cause by writing about it so that people will come forward to join this workshop and help us build a workforce to save our cinematic heritage. Thank you very much. I would now request Sudhanshu Vats to come forward and say a few words.
Farm 18 is privileged to be associated with Film Heritage Foundation for this cause. I think this journey began 3 years or 4 years back, maybe 2014, when Shivi came and met me, and he talked about this entire thing. And what sort of stumped me as well is that even I did not know preservation at that point in time, to be honest with you, and did not understand that we'd lost most of our early cinematic heritage. And had been Viacom 18 being a major media player, also into film production now, as some of you may know, through Viacom 18 Motion Pictures, I thought it was incumbent upon us to be able to first build awareness around this, deliver this message, get the film fraternity around us to understand this issue and to come together, and then work in the area which is now being done, which is to skill people to be able to deliver and to be able to preserve and restore as we go forward. And it's an interesting anecdote I wanted to play for you, is that, after I had spoken to Shivi, I generally met some folks from our film fraternity in Bombay, and I asked them, what are you doing for preserving your films? And most of them, these are the more modern ones. So they turned around and said, yeah, we have a hard drive, or we've kept it in the hard drive. It's very safe in the hard drive. Or some of them even said that it's in the we have kept our films in those more sophisticated high-end sticks which nowadays come. So it's preserved. So I think two things are there. And later Shivi was telling me that sometimes hard drive, when you think you've kept it in the hard drive or it's there in your hard drive, that it may not be there in the hard drive to begin with. In any case, it's not the right way to preserve, and therefore that is the second piece. So over a period of time, what has happened is that this journey, I think there is now, in my opinion, little bit more awareness. I think the journey is on. There is a lot which needs to be done in my interactions with the media when I have on this subject, including, I must say, folks from your city. I think the understanding of preservation needs to get dialed up at every level. And I think that's the piece which is happening, because if once we get that awareness and understanding going, we'll be able to dial this up further. And as Shivi pointed out earlier, I think it is indeed, and I must thank and compliment Shri Kamal Haasan for, he was there last year in Pune, and he took this initiative and he said, why don't you come to Chennai? And we are very clear that each year we will move this workshop around, and because India actually is privileged, we actually have arguably 10 film industries within the Indian film industry. And Tamil film industry itself is very large. South country makes close to about 60% in volume in the number of films which are made in the country. So there is a lot to be done everywhere. And as she was rightly pointing out, that of the 124 silent films and 38 documentaries in that era, all of it is lost, barring one in Malayalam. So I think there is a lot which needs to be done here. So thank you, sir, and I would like to compliment you for bringing us to Chennai. As some of you may also know, Shri Kamal Haasan has also been associated with the FICCI Skills Committee, where we are actually looking at, this entire area on skills in media and entertainment. And therefore, I have always maintained that when it comes to media and entertainment, and this is the argument I've been raising always with the government of India and or anybody whom I could talk to in the area of policy making, is that the ability to generate jobs when it comes to media and entertainment as an industry is extremely high. One is the direct jobs created in the industry, the other is the jobs which are created in ancillary industries in and around as this industry progresses. And the classic case which we again shared here is a very small case, but small point, but every piece counts, is we've already been able to skill 100 people in this very specialized area in the last 2 years, and this year that number will go to 150. And 150 men and women have actually been skilled directly, but I'm sure the influence they will start having on others, and therefore as it gathers momentum, I think it will be it'll only add to this piece, and I think we will play a